Honourable Member for Clark, independent member.
I think he's just let you off.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Infrastructure. Minister, as you should know, residents of Dunurn are growing increasingly scared and anxious about the proposed fifth lane on the southern outlet, which will result in the demolition of 17 of their homes. Officers from your department have told them that a number of alternative traffic solutions have been explored but then ruled out. Alarmingly, residents have not been provided with any information about these alternatives. On the 4th of August this year, I wrote to you requesting details and information pertaining to these alternatives, but to date, I have not received a reply. Minister, can you please advise the people of Dunurn why they have not been informed of these alternative solutions? And Minister, will you do the decent thing and tell the people of Dunurn what alternatives to the destruction of 17 family homes have been considered and rejected?
Mr Speaker.
Honourable Minister for Transport and Infrastructure.
Remember, it's
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. And I thank the Honourable Member for Clark, Ms Johnston, for her question. I can, from the outset, indicate, Mr Speaker, that we've been speaking, and via our department staff, particularly Infrastructure Tasmania, have been speaking one-on-one with residents of Dunurn Road, particularly those who have the greatest interest in terms of their own property impacts, and being spoken to very professionally and with a lot of disclosure well before the public consultation phase begins, which I can inform the House opens in fact today. So people in fact are being spoken with and shared insights into the plans. And I'm pleased to inform the House, as I say, that consultation starts today, the consultation that this government promised to do, despite the scare tactics of members opposite, who don't have a policy on this, or at least don't have an agreed policy on this, Mr Speaker. I can also say that those projects are aimed at reducing traffic congestion between Kingston and the Hobart CBD. It's got to be dealt with. The congestion challenge is real, as some members would actually not be able to agree with that opposite, but that is a real issue. And residents and businesses, we are encouraging them to have their say over the coming weeks. We know that Kingborough and the Huon Valley regions are growing quickly, as I said last week, with more than 10,000 additional people projected to be living in the region by 2040. And already the infrastructure is out of date, Mr Speaker. We need to deal with that. And I challenge members opposite. I challenge anybody that disagrees with the extra lane proposal. You need to come forward with an alternative. Yep. You need to have an alternative, because otherwise you'll leave the residents of Franklin high and dry and stuck in traffic. Mr Speaker, the southern outlet between Kingston and Hobart carries one of the highest daily traffic volumes on our state road network, and it is at capacity. Indeed, at times in the morning peak, it is over capacity, Mr Speaker. And that's why we are taking action to deal with the congestion with an integrated suite of projects to be delivered as part of the Hobart City deal. And to be very clear, we are not just talking about an extra lane on the southern outlet. The member for Clark, Ms Haddad, has been caught out saying things that are not true.
She does that all the
I think I've heard it said, just moving the bottleneck, Mr Speaker. Well, that's not true. That's not true, Mr Speaker. And with respect to Ms Johnston, who just asserted the destruction of 17 homes, that is not proposed either. Far from it, Mr Speaker. While there are acknowledged property impacts, far fewer than that is proposed for acquisition. And that is all part of the public consultation, which we've promised as a government needs to be done. And I'd like to be very clear, Mr Speaker, to the disappointment of those who are promoting misleading statements in the public, looking at Ms Haddad again. Mr Speaker, this is an additional lane, an extra lane on the southern outlet from Melinda Grove, Mr Speaker, and an extra lane at the bottleneck joining Davey and Macquarie Streets, Mr Speaker. That proves false, Labor's false claims, and that will be news to some, Mr Speaker. But also, Mr Speaker, importantly, an extra lane into Macquarie Street, Mr Speaker. This is an integrated end-to-end proposal, Mr Speaker, which deserves to be properly described by members opposite who have got it horribly, horribly wrong. And they're misleading people. And in some cases they are concerning people who in fact will not lose their home, Mr Speaker. Now importantly, Mr Speaker, Ms Johnston asked me about alternatives and what did Infrastructure Tas consider. Well, I'm happy to advise the House, and I'm advised that ITAS did look at different options before recommending the design for the transit lane which I've outlined. First, Mr Speaker, the idea of widening on the southbound carriageway which would have to be cantilevered. This would have a greater impact on traffic during construction, and there would still be impacts on properties on the uphill side of the southern outlet. I'm also advised that in addition there were challenges with the embankment on the southern side of the outlet south of Cat's Eye Corner. The cost of construction would be significantly higher also with this concept, as it would require the construction of 2 significant retaining walls. And the other proposed or idea that was proposed was a dynamic tidal flow, contraflow. This would involve making an existing southbound lane. Look, Mr Winter, if you've got something to say about it, ask a question yourself. I'll come back to the point.
What do you think?
This would involve
Order. You'd have to roll. Member for
You're slightly
Franklin.
conflicted on this, Mr Winter. We've been through this with you. This involves making an existing... Mr Speaker, Ms Johnston asked me about alternatives. This involves making an existing southbound lane able to carry northbound traffic at peak times from Davey Street to Alinda Grove without any other changes to the current lane configuration. I'm advised that this option was discounted early due to the southbound traffic then would be reduced to a single lane, which would cause congestion behind very slow-moving heavy vehicles. The flow-on effects into Davey Street and beyond. The existing wide shoulder on the southbound lanes of the outlet from Davey Street stops south of Cat's Eye Corner, so a breakdown that may occur past that point would potentially completely block the outlet southbound. Continuing the wide shoulder for approximately 500 metres further south would require a substantial retaining wall on the bottom side of the outlet. So, Mr Speaker, I'll conclude here, but just thank Ms Johnston for her interest in this. I understand that members of Clark may wish to advocate on behalf of residents of Denern Road, and we accept and understand that. We'll get the balance right. We're about supporting the whole community with the infrastructure, which is frankly now overdue, Mr Speaker. Community consultation opens today. It will close on Monday, 27 September. The public can view the designs and have their say to inform the development of detailed designs for the projects, and we encourage them to visit the Transport website, and the link is www.transport.tas.gov.au/southern projects. The Department of State Growth has been in contact with all property owners faithful to our promise that may be impacted, and will continue to engage directly with them throughout the public consultation period.